Scope 2 Carbon Emission Reporting.
Hi friends, welcome back to my channel dedicated to sustainability and environmental topics. I hope you have seen my other videos about carbon reporting and Scope 1 emission reporting. If not, please check it in the link mentioned above. Today let's understand Scope 2 carbon emission reporting. What is Scope 2 emission? Scope 2 carbon emissions refer to indirect greenhouse gas (GHG) emissions that occur as a result of the consumption of purchased or acquired electricity, heat, or steam. These emissions are associated with the generation of the energy used by an organization but are produced by an external entity, such as a utility provider. Scope 2 emissions are categorized as part of the three-tiered framework developed by the Greenhouse Gas Protocol (GHGP). Let's check top 10 Scope 2 emission sources. Grid electricity. Emissions from electricity purchased from the grid, which can be generated from various sources like coal, natural gas, nuclear, hydro, wind, solar, or other renewable energy sources. On-site generation. Emissions from electricity generated on-site by the organization using fossil fuel-based generators, such as diesel generators. Cogeneration, combined heat and power, CHP. Emissions from the combined production of electricity and useful heat from a single energy source, such as natural gas or biomass. District heating or cooling. Emissions from energy supplied by centralized systems that distribute heat or cooling to multiple buildings or facilities. Purchased steam or heat. Emissions from steam or heat purchased from an external provider, such as a district energy system or a third-party supplier. Off-site renewables. Emissions associated with the use of electricity generated from off-site renewable energy projects, such as wind farms or solar installations. Green power purchases. Emissions from the consumption of electricity obtained from certified renewable energy sources or through the purchase of renewable energy certificates, RECs. Power purchase agreements, PPAs. Emissions from electricity acquired through long-term contracts with specific renewable energy projects, ensuring a dedicated supply of clean energy. Electricity imports. Emissions from electricity imported from another region or country, which may have different carbon intensity based on the energy mix of the exporting location. Virtual power purchase agreements, VPPAs. Emissions associated with agreements to offset or reduce carbon emissions by purchasing renewable energy credits equivalent to the electricity consumed. Now let's understand very important 5 steps to analyze, measure and calculate Scope 2 emissions. 1. Data collection. Obtain reliable and comprehensive data on electricity consumption from various sources within the organization. This includes data on purchased electricity, on-site generation, and any other relevant sources. Collect data on the quantity of electricity consumed, such as kilowatt-hours, kWh, along with corresponding time periods. Emission factors. Determine the emission factors associated with each electricity source. Emission factors represent the amount of greenhouse gas emissions produced per unit of electricity consumed. These factors depend on the fuel mix and carbon intensity of the electricity sources. Emission factors can be obtained from national or regional emission inventories, emission factor databases, or from specific sources' emissions reports. 3. Activity data quality checks. Validate and verify the accuracy of the collected activity data, such as electricity consumption. Check for inconsistencies, gaps, or errors in the data. This may involve cross-checking utility bills, meter readings, and other relevant records. Ensure that the data covers the entire reporting period and is representative of the organization's operations. Calculation methodology. Apply the chosen calculation methodology to determine the Scope 2 emissions. The most commonly used methodology is the market-based approach, which considers the contractual instruments used to procure electricity, such as renewable energy certificates, and their associated emissions attributes. Another approach is the location-based method, which relies on average grid emission factors based on the geographic location of the organization. 5. Reporting and documentation. Compile the calculated Scope 2 emissions data and document the methodology used, data sources, emission factors, and any relevant assumptions. Ensure transparency and traceability of the calculations. Report the Scope 2 emissions in accordance with established reporting frameworks, such as the Greenhouse Gas Protocol or specific industry standards. What are the top 5 benefits of Scope 2 carbon emission reporting? 1. Enhanced transparency. Scope 2 carbon emission reporting provides transparency regarding an organization's electricity consumption and associated greenhouse gas emissions. 2. Identification of reduction opportunities. By analyzing and reporting Scope 2 emissions, organizations can identify areas with high carbon intensity in their electricity supply chain. 3. Risk management. Understanding and reporting Scope 2 emissions helps organizations assess and manage their exposure to carbon-related risks. 4. Stakeholder engagement and reputation. Scope 2 emission reporting demonstrates an organization's commitment to sustainability and responsible energy consumption. 5. Comparison and benchmarking. Reporting Scope 2 emissions allows organizations to compare their performance with industry peers and benchmark against best practices. By leveraging Scope 2 carbon emission reporting, organizations can gain valuable insights, drive meaningful change, and contribute to a more sustainable and decarbonized future. It enables them to track progress, demonstrate accountability, and showcase their commitment to addressing climate change. I will discuss the benefits in more detail in my upcoming video. I hope this video gives you a brief overview about Scope 2 carbon emission reporting. Thank you very much for your time and watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more sustainability-related topics. Together, let's create a carbon-free environment.